Alright guys, welcome. We're gonna do some normal procedures today and follow some real world checklists here. I have linked both of those I've linked the first one that we're gonna be using out on the chat box as well as on the description box, so feel free to go and pull that. We're sitting here today in the Cessna 172 Skyhawk and the Civil Air Patrol Skyhawk 172. It's a older generation Skyhawk. I've already done all the pre-flight, and so now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna hit right to the before start. This checklist here that I'm using is a standard 172. It's not the G1000 checklist. That one is linked currently. I'm just using a standard 172 November model checklist. So on the checklist here, we've got pre-flight has been completed, passenger briefing is complete, seats and seat belts. Obviously, we cannot simulate that, so that has been secured. Our fuel selector, if we go into systems here, let's check and make sure fuel selector is on both, and they should be. Brakes, we're going to set our parking brake is set. Circuit breakers, none of them popped because you can't simulate that, so we'll just leave that as is. I'll pop on some volume for you guys. You guys can hear what's going on. Mixture, let's go mixture rich, so go 100%. Carb heat is cold. There's no carb heat on this airplane. Beacon light should be on. Yeah, it is on. Master is already on. I already turned that on. Prime probably not required. Propeller clear. Nobody around us whatsoever, so we are good there. And then magnetos start. So what we're gonna do here is go to both or start. And we are fired up. Alright, so oil pressure. There's our oil pressure. It is rising. Mixture will lean at 1 inch, which is probably about 10% or so, like that. Flaps, I don't believe, yeah, they're already up. Transponder, let's turn our transponder. I think we missed avionics, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go into electrical. We'll turn on our avionics, and we cannot simulate the transponder in this game, so we will just skip that. Alright, so we are pretty much set to go here in our Civil Air Patrol 172, and we are here in Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, and I'm just at a random gate. I don't know what gate this is, but let's go ahead and taxi. So we'll test our brakes here. We'll go ahead and release the parking brake, and check our toe brakes. They work and are good. Let's go ahead and taxi out, and I'll show you guys a full run up here once we get out of this parking area. This is normally meant for airlines, not meant for Cessnas like this one. So you can see the foot movement on the pedals below. You don't fly with you fly with the yoke, and you steer on the ground with the rudder pedals. A lot of people think that flying, you use the yoke for everything, but most of the controls on the ground are done by the rudder pedals. So when you want to go left, you hit the left rudder. If you want to go right, you hit the right rudder. Pretty basic and simple, but it can be kind of daunting for first timers that don't know what to do, as it has happened before. Alright, so we're going to follow this yellow line, and you can see that oil pressure light come on, so I'm just going to keep it at about 900 RPM or so, and we'll just tap the brake here every so often. And we'll come up here and we'll do a full static run up. I think what we're going to do is we're just going to do it here. I don't know this airport layout very well, but I think this is the place for it. So we will turn into the wind, where there is no wind right now, so we'll just turn around. And what I like to do is, actually, no, what we're gonna do, we're gonna come up here and turn this in closer towards the grass. Because in real life, you don't want to be blocking the taxiway for any other traffic that might be in the area. So we're just gonna come over here, hold the parking brake down, set the parking brake. All right. So before takeoff, brakes we have, doors and windows we already know are closed and locked. Flight controls, we'll just do a quick check. So right, left, up, down, and then if we look at the back, well, you can't see it, but if we look on the external view, you can see as I move the iPad, the flight controls move with it, and then our rudder pedal and our elevator. So that stuff is all working like it should be. Flight instruments, so 0. Obviously we don't have a altimeter, or it's not modeled in this game. Turn coordinator's not issuing a turn, and our gyro is the same as our compass. So next things next, we will go ahead and make sure our fuel selector is on both, and it is. Mixture goes to full rich, so we're going to go down into the engine compartment, turn that to full rich, and trim is set for takeoff and pretty much is not modeled. And now we're going to go up to 1800 RPM. So you can see there's about, you don't have to be dead on with this kind of stuff. As long as it's roughly in the 17 to 1800 range, it's good. And then following the checklist, throttle up to 1800 magneto. So we're going to check the mags here. So we're going to go right mag. We're listening for any kind of sputtering or the engine just not running smooth. Go back to both. There's about 100 drop there. Left mag, but another 100 back to both, and there's a 50 less difference on both. Alright, engine instruments. Everything looks good. You can see our oil pressure is in the green, temperatures are in the green, vacuum is in the green. We've got plenty of fuel. And yeah, everything looks good there. Amp meter, so what we'll do is we'll just kill the alternator basically and make sure we get a spike. So if we go back into our electrical, and if I tilt the yoke, if I kill this, see the volt light come on, and then turn it back off. Alright. Amp meters checked. Our suction. This aircraft is not equipped with a suction. Nope, it is not, so we don't need to worry about that. Carb heat, obviously not equipped. Throttle idle, so let's go bring the throttle all the way back to idle, full idle. So it runs at about 600 RPM. Radios, we're not going to worry about that. Departure, we'll review that, and then we will go hold short of the runway. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to go fly around basically. I don't really have any plans today for this. I'm just going to go mess around in the sky and see what happens. There's really no plan whatsoever. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and release the parking brake here, and we will move up to the hold short line. And you can see my wing is not crossing that hold short line at any one given time. And we'll stop right here and hold short of the runway. So we're going to take off. Let's see. We are on the map here. We're going to take off runway 08, I believe. And then probably just head up west, eastbound. And we'll find one of these smaller airstrips. And I'll show you guys kind of like the pattern that you would fly normally. So I don't know any of these airports, obviously, because they're in the UK. But we'll get in the air and we'll see what you guys want to do, and then we can go from there. I'm just going to check and make sure we got a full tank of fuel here, because we don't want to have an engine failure. Alright, so we're going to go flaps 10 for departure. I'm going to do a little bit of a short field departure procedure. And And then let's go ahead and turn on all our lights so we are nice and lit up like a Christmas tree. And then obviously at this time, if you were to follow the checklist, you would record your uptime, and your squawk would go to altitude, icing on as required, lights on, and then our heading indicator is matching the compass, which it automatically does in this game because you cannot adjust it. If you're doing the mobile edition of X-Plane, you can actually adjust all those kind of instruments mobily. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to backtrack this runway a little bit. And, line up on the center line. Now for a plane like this, you probably will get taught to use the full runway length. I'm not using the full runway length because I just don't want to bore you guys with a taxi. So we're going to hold our brakes here. Run the RPMs, the tachometer up to full power, which is 100%. And we can see that holding full power, we have pressure, temperature is all in the green, vacuum is still in the green. We'll let go, and we will rotate at 54 knots on this aircraft. So it's going to come very quickly. There's 50. Slight pullback. Right, ooh, we don't want to crash. Do not want to crash. 65. Alright, there's 65, flaps are coming up. And we will get airborne. And just like that, we are up in the air. We'll climb out at about 70 knots or so. I am going to cheat here a little bit and use the heading autopilot feature to keep our heading. And we are climbing away from Schiphol International Airport. Get up to about 2,000 feet or so. We'll just kind of cruise around for a little bit, guys. In the little Cessna. I don't want to get too high because then you can't see anything, obviously. So keeping a nice easy climb rate. About 80 knots or so on the climb out here. It just depends really on where you want to go. So I'm just holding about about 700 feet per minute at 80 knots here, and it seems to be climbing out fairly steadily. So that is what we are doing. Like so. And we'll go up to flight level 1,500. Now you can see our vertical speed has dropped. Actually, we'll go up to about 3,000 or so. Try to hold that 80 knots there. There's obviously, like, for this aircraft, I don't know what the actual published speeds are, because obviously it is a sim. Now, any of these procedures that I'm doing tonight, please do not use them for real-world training purposes. This is solely for entertainment. Always consult your proper flight school if you want any proper flight time. But using this is not the smartest idea, nor is it a reliable training source. So you definitely don't want to do that. Alright, we're up here at 2,000 feet now, just coming up on 2,000. We got about another 1,000 to go. And a steeper turn. This is kind of a 45-degree bank angle. Normally, if you're doing normal flying, you want to keep it between 15 to 20 degrees of bank and no more than that, unless you're specifically practicing this maneuver, which is called a steep turn. So we go about 45 degrees and then we add a bit of power in there. Again, this is not following published procedures. I'm just kind of doing this just to show you guys the capabilities of this aircraft. By no means am I doing this like published procedures would be. So you can see we just basically turned a 360 and now we're facing back the same direction that we started in. So now I can go power idle and just kind of float. Alright, so let's go ahead and cruise a little bit here. And what we'll do is once we're a fair bit away from the airport, I'm going to go ahead and disengage autopilot. I have the airplane now. I'm going to start a nice gentle bank. Actually, let's do a steep turn. Always looking where I'm going. I don't ever want to be in a situation where I can't see what I'm doing. That is one thing you do not want to do. Now you can see Amsterdam's right there. We kind of didn't leave that airspace. And we are descending. So let's go ahead and pull the power back. It's about 1200 RPM. And we'll hold the nose up a little bit. I'm going to give it 5% up, 5% nose up trim. Like so. Actually, let's go idle at this point. This airplane tends to like to hold its speed even with nose up trim. So if you guys can't tell, I'm actually lined up with this other runway over here. This is what we call a downwind leg. Now I'm going to increase our speed a little bit. So I'm not exactly lined up with it, but if we were to go over here for this runway, I can pull the power back to idle and then just pitch the nose up a little bit more. We'll go flaps 10 at this point. It'll help slow us down as well as lose some more altitude that we don't need. And we can also go flaps 20. And you can see my power is still at idle because I'm still very high. I'm about 1,500. Go full flaps. And we'll just kind of hold it right here. Like so. I'll give it a little bit more nose up trim. Help us lose the altitude that you want to lose, because you don't want to have all this altitude doing this. Normally you'd be on probably about a mile final doing this, and you probably want to be about 300 feet above the ground right now, but I'm doing this just, you know, for fun. And you can see even with flaps up fully down, not quite losing that much altitude that fast. So give it some more nose up trim. Trim is your best friend. If you don't have autopilot, use your trim. It will save a lot of headache after. So we're going to come in here for a landing, but I'm not going to stop. As soon as we touch down, I'm go full throttle again. And we're gonna go take off. You can see here. Oh, we ballooned a little bit. There we go. Flaps up. Full power. We weren't quite on the center line there. 55. Off we go. And that, my friends, is what we call a touch and go on the runway. So, climbing out steadily now. Now, if we were to have an engine failure, let's simulate one of those. Let's go into our engines. And let's just say we shut that engine off. What you would want to do is just glide down on the runway. Go power idle. See, we're stalling a little bit there. Put it down on the runway. Fuel pump off. Hit the brakes now. You want to hit them pretty hard. Full throttle back, or yoke back in your lap. And obviously if you had an engine failure, you would stop it on the runway. Park brake. And then you would get out of the airplane. So, just like that. So, let's start it back up again. Like so. And now, we're going to close both these doors because you're not allowed to fly with these open. Oh, it's stuck now. Okay. Show you guys the wheels at least. But there you go. So now we're on the ground. Probably need your, yeah, that's why. In this game you need your parking brake set. So we will come over here. We'll do a quick, I'm not going to do this very long today because I don't feel like making a super long stream, and because these Cessnas don't fly very fast, it's not fair for you guys to sit here and watch me fly this little tiny slow plane. What I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna go into our engines. You can see we're about to rotate. Loss of power. And you can see the plane just glides. Like, if I were to hold this all the way back in my lap, it would just glide. Like so. Alright, enough of that. Let's go fly something else now. Let's go fly. We did a 737 yesterday. I think we're gonna fly. What shall we fly? Air Canada doesn't really fit. That's too big. I don't want to fly that. Let's fly an X-Cub just for fun. Just because. You don't normally want to fly an X-Cub, but let's just do it really quickly for fun. I'm not going to do this stream for too long. I'll make a video on it. We're just kind of screwing around in this game today. But yeah. Well, if this wants to work. Yeah, it's too strong. Alright guys, I'm going to wrap this up here, because this is going to take forever to download, and I don't want you guys sitting around watching this, so hope you guys enjoyed this little short stream. I'll probably make a video on this checklist stuff and kind of include it into the, like, the X-Plane stuff I did. But yeah, otherwise, take care.